Rebuilding yourself as a man doesn't need to start with the perfect plan. It needs to start with you stopping pretending the current version of you is good enough. And I don't mean that in a self-hating way. I mean there comes a point where you ultimately have to tell yourself the truth. Tell the truth about where you are. Don't exaggerate it, don't downplay it, don't blame the world or everybody else. Just ask yourself, where am I actually at in life? In terms of your finances, your body, your relationships, emotional control, environment, confidence. Because ultimately you cannot rebuild from a lie. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to ask yourself the pertinent questions. Sorry, I have a fly on my arm. Anyway, ultimately it begins with fixing the basics first. Once you've established where you are and you understand, okay, well, I'm here, I'm doing X, this is Y, and this is my current body, these are my finances, my relationships are in this way, my emotional control is 5 out of 10, so on and so forth. You then begin to fix the basics. Sleep, food, nutrition, clean environment, training, money leaks, so meaning pointless subscriptions, pointless things you're spending money on, daily routine, alcohol and drugs, they need to go. Most men don't need a big, fancy, complicated plan. They just need to stop ignoring the basics. And this is easily done. It's easily to overlook the very basic things in life is so common. It's almost unbelievable. But people neglect sleep, they neglect nutrition, and these are the things that you have to do every single day. These are the basics in life. Keeping small promises to yourself every day. This is how you stack up the days, stack up the wins. This is where self-respect and confidence are able to grow. Don't promise yourself you'll change your entire life in one night. Just pick one or two things and actually do them. Confidence comes back when you start collecting small bits of evidence that you can trust yourself. Far too often do we go back on our own word, which just chips away at your own confidence, at your own self-respect, and this never ends well. Build options. You have to be able to look to the future, look to the better job, increase your skills, better health, more money saved, a side business, a stronger body, a calmer mind. All of these things are going to take time, and these will help you become the person you want to be. And these are essentially milestones in rebuilding yourself. Whatever you've been through, whether it's divorce, whether it's loss, whether it's trauma, whether it's redundancy, whether it's some setback in one way or another, it's never too late to start rebuilding yourself. You just have to have the building blocks in place and be willing and persistent enough to stack one on top of the other. Far too often I think people expect change to come drastically, and time is on your side. I understand that that's not the case for every single person. If you're 93 years old, then yeah, perhaps time isn't on your side. But by and large, I'm sure the audience in which my YouTube channel seems to navigate or gravitate towards, 25 to 35-year-olds, you have the time. A man with no options becomes trapped, starts to feel trapped. A man who is building options starts to feel dangerous again. Dangerous in a controlled way, like capable, not reckless, not ruthless. Although sometimes you have to be ruthless, even with the basics. You have to be non-negotiable. You can't negotiate with the basics. And you have to stop waiting to feel ready. You rebuild while you're tired. It's 20 to 11 right now. For those who don't read the time in this way, that means it's 10:40 p.m. I've done a 9-hour shift at work. I've been to the gym straight after work, and recently got home, and now I'm making this video to continue the daily cadence with uploading to YouTube, even when the views are low, even when I feel tired, even while I am uncertain. You know, all these feelings are normal and natural, and you're going to feel this way, especially in a rebuilding phase, because it's a transitionary period. You know, life can be messy, but you can still rebuild yourself after, you know, life goes through these periods. And waiting till life gets easier to rebuild yourself is essentially waiting for the dragon to show up, because likelihood is, unless you do begin rebuilding yourself, life isn't going to get easy. You know, you rebuild yourself, you rebuild your life inside the life that you currently have. You know, ultimately you don't rebuild yourself from sheer waterfalls of motivation pouring into your synapse every day. You rebuild from becoming someone you can rely on again. You know, one honest decision, one kept promise, and one better day at a time. So I guess to end the video would be to say like, share, comment and subscribe. And ultimately, you know, rebuilding your life isn't some big dramatic transformation. It could look like that in 2 or 3 years. If you manage to gather footage and put it on a highlight reel, then yeah, it could look drastic. But in reality, it's going to be an arduous journey, and you've got to be able to stack the days, face the storms, weather the storms, and be prepared for the sunshine that comes from the other side. But again, this takes time, it takes resilience, it takes being able to accept where you are right now. It takes controlling the basics to the best of your ability. It takes building options, improving skills, and stacking the days. I'm Jake O'Neill. You've been watching Jake O'Neill UK channel. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the next one.